Welcome back, everybody, to the Baltimore Orioles franchise here on MLB The Show 23, where we are just getting into September. Now, our MLB team isn't anywhere close to getting into the playoffs, as we are 54-83, 26 games behind the Yankees in first place in the AL East, and then in the wild card, nowhere to be seen, dead last at 20.5 games back. AAA club isn't doing much better, 61-71, as they are 15 games behind in the International East. But our AA team, the Bowie Bay Sox, are first in the Eastern Southwest. So it looks like our AA team will be able to make the postseason, so we might get a game or two in that division. And the first thing that I want to do here in this episode is get into a player lock game here at the Major League level. And it is going to be with Abraham Toro here today. And I wanted to get a look at Toro because he is currently one of our second basemen, and I'm looking at him being our starting second baseman going into the season, which we might not keep Adam Frazier. We might not keep Chad Pinder. Both of those guys might be free agents. So Abraham Toro right now has the inside track to become our starting second baseman. And I just want to see how he does. He's hitting .277 on the season. Not too bad. We acquired him in last episode, the trade with the Milwaukee Brewers that included Eric Lauer coming over to our team. But Eric Lauer has pitched well for us, and Abraham Toro has actually increased his batting average for us. And it's full count here to Abraham Toro with 1 on, 2 out in the top of the second. And fouls off the changeup. That is flied out into left field, and looks like that's going to be the final out of the inning. And here is Abraham Toro once again. I really like his skill set. He is a switch hitter. He has power against a righty, a little bit better contact against a lefty, so he's got a pretty good skill set to start out with as a second baseman, I believe. And that one is hammered over left center wall. That's a home run from Abraham Toro. 407 feet. He absolutely crushed that one. And the O's take a 6-3 lead. And he gets another chance to at bat in the top of the 6th with a runner on. 1 for 2 with that home run we just saw. And I did play a player lock game before this episode started, and it was with Abraham Toro, and I had like a 2 for 3 game, I think, with him. And here he goes and has a 2 home run day for Abraham Toro. Are you kidding me? This is a pleasant surprise after how poorly that I hit last episode. 2 for 3 on the day with 2 home runs. You love to see that. And he gets another chance in the top of the 7th. Facing a new pitcher, Carlos Estevez, a righty. He does have more power against a righty than lefty. So that's probably a cause for these past 2 home runs. And that one just popped out to the infield. And infield fly. And the Orioles had defeated the Angels 8-6. A solid game from Abraham Toro, 2 for 4, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and 2 runs. And Eric Lauer had a good game, picking up the win, pitched 6 innings, allowed 1 run, and had 6 strikeouts, 6 walks, and 4 hits given up. Not too bad. And we take 2 of 3 from the Angels, and we have a day off here on the 7th, so I think I want to hop down into the minors and check in on a couple players. And a lot of these player lock games are going to be with the Norfolk Tides, as we have a lot of AAA players that we might see in the majors in the next year or two. But the first look is going to be at Colton Cowser, our center fielder here in AAA. Currently, he has the highest WAR on the minor league roster at a 2.4. You see his stats in the bottom right-hand corner. He is doing pretty well as a hitter. 275 average on the season. And I do believe he's been at AAA all season. Cowser is now at a 3-0 count. And I just couldn't lay off swinging, so 3-1. And couldn't lay off again, and luckily it is foul. So full count. And he takes the walk. And he ends up scoring on a double. So he comes back up here in the bottom of the second with 2 on, with no outs. We're looking to have a RBI or 2 at this at bat. A little early on the changeup. A little late on the cutter. 0-2 count. And just fouled that off, or hit that off the hands. We are up 5-1 on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Colton Cowser's 49 RBIs are tied for first on the Norfolk Tides. And he grounds that onto the second baseman for the last out of the third. And as we get a fielding opportunity for Cowser, he might be someone who could make the Major League roster next year. He is, I believe, our second highest rated outfielder, so he's definitely going to get at least an invite to spring training, and we'll see how he does there. He is 23 years old, so I don't want to hinder any of his progress by moving him up to the majors before he is ready. But I think that if anything, we might start him out at AAA, and if he has another season like he's having this year, you know, we might have to bring him up. He's also first in doubles on the team with 23. 2-1 count and hitless. Cowser is on the day. And that will get down for a bloop single into left field. I'll take it. Got a little bit of speed. Toby Welk's in the box. Do we chance stealing? Well, don't get an opportunity. And Welk is out at first. So it doesn't even matter. I was really hoping that Kjerstad could have come through and been one of our outfielders, but he is also having a hard time here in AAA as he had in the majors at the beginning of the season. But we'll get a look at him later in this episode, so stick around for that. But we have what is probably our last chance to see Colton Cowser. 1 for 3 with that bloop single into left field here in the bottom of the 8th. Looking to get at least one solid hit on the board. And Cowser is number 76 right now, but if you have any suggestions of what he should be whenever or if and when he does get that call up to the majors, leave it down below in the comments. I love hearing your feedback on these episodes. And if you're enjoying the episode, why don't you leave a like on the video. 1-2 count here to Cowser. And makes it even, 2-2. Oh, and I swung at the slider to strike out. A 1 for 4 day for Colton Cowser. And we have won 7-2. A decent day out of the rest of the team. Jackson Holliday had a multi-hit day, 3 for 5 with an RBI and a run scored. Toby Welk hit a home run, his 5th of the season, and went 2 for 5. And Alexander Ramirez, who we got in the trade for Nomar Mazara, he is our DH down here in AAA, and he went 3 for 4 to up his average to 298 on the season. And Cade Pavich went 6 innings, giving up 2 runs, and Edward Bazardo and Ryan Conroy came to clean it up. And I'll keep simming until we get into the next series for the minor leagues. And with the injury to Bruce Zimmerman, we are going to be moving up Chris Valamont up to AAA. And we end up winning 2 of 3 from Boston, which is great to see. Grayson Rodriguez was actually listed in our bullpen, but he comes in. He does get a loss, pitched 4 innings with 5 earned runs. Oof. So I'm thinking he still stays in the rotation next year, but we might have to go into free agency and get someone who can come up and make some spot starts or replace him if needed. But that means we start a series against St. Louis, and I want to get into a minor league game here. And since we talked about him in the last game, I wanted to get into a player lock situation here with Heston Kjerstad as we get a fielding opportunity here in right field for him. In the majors this year, he hit 122 in the limited action that he saw. And then currently right now in the minors, I believe he's hitting like 184. So, sorry, he hit 184 in the MLB, and he's hitting 218 right now in AAA. So he's not having a great year so far, but I'm still going to be sticking with him. He's 24 years old, still fairly young. He has good potential, but I think right now his spot is staying down here in AAA at least for another year, maybe a year and a half, if that's what it takes to get that average up a little bit. But he's here starting today in the bottom of the first. 2 outs with 2 on. And a slider is called for a strike. See if he can come up clutch and get an RBI. And on the hands, pops it up to the infield. And end of the first. A little anticlimactic. But we get another chance here. This time, bases loaded with 2 outs. Unfortunate this is a lefty-lefty competition, as that is a little bit high. Come on, Blue. But Kjerstad hits righties and lefties about the same, so it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Just slightly out in front. Actually, very early. Okay. I knew it was coming, either a slider or a changeup, and just got me reaching for it. But back to hitting. The score is now 3-2 for the Tides. Bottom of the 5th. Still Connor Thomas on the mound. 73 pitches into his afternoon. I should have known that same exact pitch. That slider low and away was coming. And I guess just trying to stay alive. But count is still 1-2. And that's singled up the middle into center field. And he'll hold at third. But Kjerstad has a single. And a runner is now in scoring position. And we get a chance to run. We have 31 steal and 43 speed. I don't think we're going to be stealing anything, as that is hit fairly well and over. Alexander Ramirez, who was offered to us by, I forgot who even offered that trade to us, but comes through in the clutch. His second home run in AAA. I believe he was in AA for a little while. Maybe we'll get a look at him later in this episode as well. But back to the man of the hour, Heston Kjerstad, here in the bottom of the 7th, looking to get his second hit of the day. Coming through with a pretty clutch single up the middle last time. I shouldn't have swung at that high fastball, but it's 1-1 now. I'm interested to see how well he hits against a right-handed pitcher. He has 51 contact and power. And that's hit just late and caught. And the game is over, and we end up winning this one in a final score of 6-2. Yeah, Alexander Ramirez went 2 for 4 with a home run, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. And Cade Pavich, one of the pitchers I was talking about in the last episode and maybe to get a look at, he went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, had 6 walks, 4 strikeouts. Not a terrible day, but our offense made up for the fact that he wasn't on his A game today. And you know what? Let's just get right back into it with Alexander Ramirez and talk about him a little bit. He's 20 years old, hits .305 with an .808 OBP, or OPS, sorry. And he wasn't someone that I was really going to talk about today. We ended up getting him in the Nomar Mazara trade. And he's just a C potential, so there's nothing really outrageous to expect right there. But he is playing very well for us right now. In only 15 games, he has 2 home runs and 9 RBIs. And I think he's been hitting like 7th or 8th in the order. So maybe we can move him up into the order for the, second half of this month at least. But Alexander Ramirez is someone that I was thinking about letting him start in AA next year. But, I mean, he's playing so well at AAA, I think he's going to get an opportunity here to begin the season. He's definitely not getting an invite to spring training. But we'll make sure to check in on him next season at the minor league level like we did this year with most of our prospects. And it's even now at 2-2. And hit right back to the pitcher and out. 0 for 2 right now with 2 ground outs, looking to get back into the swing of things. Just early on the changeup. That's hit into center field. Is it going to drop? Nope. He doesn't have a lot of power, but he has pretty good contact. And we do get one more opportunity to actually get a hit. 0 for 3 right now.
That's a ball.
As we get a favorable call from the home plate umpire. And a little behind on that fastball. 1-2 here to Ramirez. And hit up the middle. I contact swung on that. I should have just regular swung. But that is out for the 8th, and Ramirez went 0 for 4. Sorry about that one, guys. And we end up losing 3-2, so not terrible. DL Hall gets the loss. He's a pitcher I had my eye on a little bit, but I don't know if he'll make the jump up to the majors for next season. Against our series against St. Louis, we end up taking 2 out of 3, which has become a sort of a pattern in our last 3 series, but we have a 4-game series here against Tampa Bay. Almost get a sweep. 1 loss away. We end up losing 6-1, but we ended up scoring 13 runs in this 4-game series. Not too shabby. Interestingly enough, it was Eric Lauer who picked up that loss. So that makes it 2 straight losses that we've had with him in the rotation. But I do want to get back into a major league game, but it's going to be with a player lock because I don't want to play an entire game this time. But I want to play with Gunnar Henderson. He hasn't had a great season so far, hitting .216, 8 home runs, 31 RBIs. And we'll see if we can get him back on track against a right-handed pitcher. And the Astros have Christian Javier on the mound. He has a 3.14 ERA and a 1.24 WHIP on the season through 30 starts. 12-5 record. And we'll start out in the field with a fielding opportunity. 1 runner on, 1 out. Looks like it's going to be a double play. Toss it to second, back to first, and we end it the first. And we get our very first hitting opportunity with a runner on first. I believe that's Mountcastle. And nobody out, facing Christian Javier. Oof, that's a nasty curveball. They got me swinging at the fastball, or the curveball and then the fastball. See if he does the same thing. It got me struck out on the changeup, 85 miles an hour on the outside. I really wish Henderson had a better season than he did this year. I was, kind of looking forward to him maybe having a chance at Rookie of the Year. But I think he's a little bit too far off of that. Only 8 home runs and like 31 RBIs on the season. .216 batting average isn't going to cut it.
1-1.
I even had him up in the top of the order to kind of see if he could make a change up there, but that didn't seem to work either. We'll see. He's going to be our starting shortstop next year and
2-2.
probably the year after that, unless he makes a change over to third base, making room for maybe Jackson Holiday or someone else coming up through the minors. Working this to a full count here with 1 out and Profar on deck. And we get another chance to hit, down 9-0 in the 7th. Yay, 0 for 2. Javier is at pitch number 90 coming now. And I just want to be able to get 1 hit. Just let me get 1 hit with Gunnar Henderson, and I will call this game a success.
2-0.
And it's 3-1, and I don't want another walk, so I'm probably going to just swing anyway and work it to full. Yep. Swung over the top of the slider, way out in front, but 3-2 count coming now. And softly hit the second base for the first out of the 7th. And I'll be damned, we get 1 more chance in the 8th, it looks like. So Profar had a solo home run right after we struck out.
0-1.
But they do have a new pitcher in, Hunter Brown, as I just whiffed on his fastball.
Ball.
Oof.
1-2.
Why'd I swing at that? Now it's 1-2. Pop that up to third base. That's going to be the final out of the 8th. Man, just having a hard time with Henderson right now. And we lose 9-3. Looks like Cedric Mullins went 2 for 5. Ramon Urias 2 for 5. And that was about it. Rodriguez gets the loss. Only pitched 3 innings and gave up 7 runs. Well, I didn't like the way that game ended, so we're going to get into another one with a player lock on Gunnar Henderson against Lance McCullers Jr. this time. As Mullins leads us off with a solo home run, then no one else can do anything else. So we'll see if we can up that average a bit and have a better time than we did last game, going 0 for 4.
Counts 1-0.
And Henderson is a much better hitter against righties. We actually had a game against Framber Valdez before this one, but it was against a lefty. I didn't want to go into that game and hit poorly. But the count's now even 2-2. And full count now. And got me on the slider inside. Retired. And they run it up again on us. 5-1 now in the top of the 5th. McCullers has only pitched 44 pitches. What the hell? Yeah, last game, 0 for 4, 2 Ks. Looking to at least get a hit here. And hit hard to shortstop, but routine grounder. Maybe if I play a fielding spot, this will give me an opportunity to break out of the slump. But Aaron Ashby is actually pitching. We traded for him. He was in the Eric Lauer trade with Abraham Toro. So all 3 of them are now starting in the majors and will probably be starting next year. Ashby is one of our premier lefty relievers coming out of the pen. Abraham Toro is our starting second baseman, and Lauer is one of our rotational guys.
Nope. Outside.
So that just means we need Gunnar Henderson to step it up a little bit. 0 for 2, fouls that one off. And hit through the gap between short and third. And Henderson has a base hit. He's got a bit of speed. I think I'd like to steal. Takes off. And I got caught. And we lose 6-1. So about how good it could go. We did get a hit, so I'm at least happy about that. And Cole Irvin picked up the loss. 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 3 Ks, 5 earned runs. Wow. And we only take 1 on that road trip to Houston, and now we continue playing against the Cleveland Guardians that we take 2 from. And as we get to the minor league postseason, the AAA ball club does not make it. But the Bay Sox have won their division and will be taking on the Rubber Ducks in the division series. So we'll jump into that and have a player lock game during that game. And also we got our first sweep of the season, I believe, against Cleveland here at the end of the month of September, winning 4 straight, 3-2, 4-0, 3-2, and then 6-5. And I'm going back and looking at April, and this is already, I can tell through this first month, it's not our first sweep. So we did sweep Boston earlier in the season, and a 2-game sweep, if you can call that a sweep, against the Nationals in April. Not our first sweep, but definitely a nice surprise getting a 4-game sweep here. And simming this first game against Washington will take us into our AA playoffs. And the first game here that we have in the AA playoffs is a rainy one as we take on the Akron Rubber Ducks. And I do only have a single player lock in this game, and it is for Joey Ortiz, the shortstop, who is a B potential. All their stats are wiped out during the season, but he had a pretty strong season here at AAA. I just checked notes that I made. It was actually 329, so even better than I thought it was. And I didn't make many changes to the roster. I think I maybe just brought down Heston Kjerstad since he was struggling at AAA as well, giving him a few more at bats here at AA. I figured would help. Kjerstad has been brought down. I also brought down Alexander Ramirez so he can get a few more at bats here as the AAA season is over and we didn't make the playoffs there. And Joey Ortiz takes a walk. And Joey Ortiz is a very good fielder. All of his fielding, throwing ratings, all that stuff is like 78 or higher. And he gets a short out there at second. One other person I forgot to mention that I brought down was Samuel Basalo, the catcher. He wasn't having a very strong season at AAA. I think he was just hitting like just over 200, 209 to be exact. And I figured, hey, bring him down to AA, let him get the playoffs here. Maybe that'll help him get a little bit better for AAA next season. 1-2 count for Ortiz. I did not go. But we get one more chance here in the fifth. 2 outs, a runner on. See if we can come away with a hit. Oof. Thought that was going to break a little bit more. See, Ortiz has 52 contact, 34 power, 57 vision as well. So he has a skill set that we like as a good, solid middle infielder. Fouls that one back to stay alive. Count is still 2-2. Ooh, got me sliding at the swinging at the slider. I was about to say sliding at the swinger. We're down 4-1 here in the bottom of the 8th. With a new pitcher, Robert Broom, out and Joey Ortiz looking to get something started here. Works this to a 3-0 count. Got me with a fastball right over the middle. We'll see. Does he throw it again? He did, but I am very much behind. And softly hit to second base for an out. And we drop the first game of the playoffs to a score of 4-1. And we're going to sim through this second game against Akron. And it looks like we have a couple injuries. We'll keep them active. And we win it. And I want to get into another player lock game. And this time it's going to be with first baseman Lewin Diaz. Here in the top of the second. And Lewin Diaz did not have a good start to the season at AAA. But here in AA he has played a lot better. He has a 286 average in the playoffs through the first 2 games. And I'm thinking that he is going to be starting the season at AA next year as well. Just in front of changeup. Count is 2-2 to Diaz. Oh, I definitely held up on that. And we're now up by 1 in the top of the 4th as Diaz comes out for a second time. Struck out last time. This guy would just hang one over the plate. I think Diaz could send it over the wall. It's evened up now 2-2. Hit hard to the second baseman, but easy out. Third time's a charm, right? Over 2, strikeout, ground out. Coming here on top of the 7th in a tie ball game. 1-1, and apparently he can't hold up to save his life on a swing. So we have to be very patient with Lewin Diaz, it looks like. 71 power against the righty, though. I'd love to see that at the major league level one day as he pops that one softly into right field and out. And one more opportunity in the top of the 8th as we are now up 3-1 with 2 on and 2 out. It looks like we just went on a scoring spree. And a new pitcher, Aaron Pinto, out here. and throw me a changeup. Oh, had me swinging at the high fastball. And we're out. And the Rubber Ducks came from behind to beat us, scoring 3 in the 9th. Looks like the loss went to Nick Richmond, which I don't think he's someone I'm looking to bring back next year. Lewin Diaz ended up going 0 for 4. Samuel Pasalo went 1 for 3. He's hitting 250 in the playoffs here in AA. But Garrett Stallings came out and gave us a pretty good start. And then Nick Richmond just ruined it, looks like, in the 9th. We started off this season here against Boston, winning the first 2, and there's only 2 more games left in the season as we close out against Boston. And then in the AA playoffs, there are also 2 games left against the Rubber Ducks, at least for us. So simming through against Boston, we lose against Boston, and we win against Akron to keep it alive. And then finishing out, we have been eliminated from playoffs in AA. But we did win our last game of the season, but it wasn't good enough for the playoffs. We went 70-92 with a .432 win percentage, 24 games behind of the Yankees. Looks like in the AL is Houston, Toronto, the Yankees, the Rays, Angels, and Cleveland Guardians. And then the NL is San Diego, Atlanta, St. Louis, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Dodgers. That is your playoff bracket. And before we get into the playoffs and actually seeing who wins the World Series, I do want to take a look at these awards. MVP in the AL is Shohei Ohtani, and in the NL is Trace Thompson, who came out of nowhere to have a 301 season, 40 home runs, and 138 RBIs. But we'll go through all these American League winners first. Cy Young goes to Shane McClanahan, a 2.14 ERA and 120 games. Batting title goes to Stephen Kwan of the Guardians. Reliever Alex Lang of the Tigers, 39 saves. Bautista was there at third. He had 40 saves and 71 strikeouts. Rookie of the Year goes to Masataka Yoshida for the Red Sox. 249, 18 home runs, 72 RBIs, not too shabby. Hank Aaron Award goes to Aaron Judge, of course. Gold Glove pitcher Shintaro. Gold Glove catcher Adley Rutschman, so good to see him there. First base is Seth Brown. Second base, Andres Jimenez. DJ LeMahieu at third. David Fletcher at short. Dalton Varsho at left. Harrison Bader center, and Kyle Tucker in right field. And then for Silver Sluggers, Shohei Ohtani for DH. Catcher is Salvador Perez with Rutschman right behind him. I wish Rutschman could have had it, but looks like he needs to increase his power and be in a little bit better of a spot for RBIs next year. Silver Slugger first baseman is Vladimir Guerrero. Second base, Torres. Third base, Jose Ramirez. Shortstop, Corey Seager. And in the outfield is Aaron Judge, Kyle Tucker, and Hunter Renfroe. And then for the NL, we saw the MVP was Trace Thompson. Cy Young goes to Clayton Kershaw, who had one of his better seasons in a while. 19 wins, the most he's gotten since 2017 when he had 18, and then 21 in 2014. So a great year out of Clayton Kershaw. Batting title goes to Luis Arias, 316 average. Reliever of the year goes to Josh Hader. Rookie of the year, Tatis, but don't really pay attention to that. It is actually Kodai Senga. That's what we're going to be going with. So Kodai Senga is the NL Rookie of the Year. Hank Aaron Award, Bryce Harper. Gold Glove pitcher, Tyon. Gold Glove catcher is Nick Fortis. Gold Glove first base, Trey Mancini. Second base, Josh Harrison. Third base, Gene Segura. Shortstop, Tommy Edman. Left fielder, Ian Happ. Center, Mike Yastrzemski. And right fielder is Mookie Betts. Silver Slugger for the NL at DH, Trace Thompson. Catcher, Will Smith. First base, Matt Olson. Second base, Ozzie. Third base, Manny Machado. Shortstop, Jansby Swanson. And the outfield is Tatis, Mookie Betts, and Kyle Schwarber. And here are how our stats look on the season. Cedric Mullins led us in a lot of categories. He scored the most runs for us. He had the most hits. He was third in home runs, but Santander hit 27 and Mountcastle hit 21. Ramon Urias hit a career high 17 this season, had a career high 56 RBIs. James McCann hit 15 as our DH, and Adley Rutschman's starting catcher hit 13, which tied his total from last season, but on 60 more at-bats. But he did increase his average by 40 points, so I'm happy about that, and improved his WAR to a whopping 6.1. Austin Hayes had 13 home runs. Gunnar Henderson had 9, which was a career high for him as well. Abraham Toro had 8 and finished in a bit of a cold streak for us. His average went down to 255, but I'm still thinking that I want to ride with him as our second baseman next season. RBI leaders are Mountcastle and Santander, with Rutschman in a distant third with 56. Cedric Mullins had the most stolen bases for us, with Jorge Mateo in a distant second. Average leader is Adley Rutschman, McCann, Urias, Frazier, and we only had 5 people hit over 250, so that is going to have to increase for next year. The guys I was really looking forward to this year having a good season: Gunnar Henderson, Austin Hayes. They didn't really perform at the level that I wanted them to, but we'll hope to see if they can improve on that next year. Adley Rutschman has our most walks with 74, and Gunnar Henderson struck out the most at 125. But he was still third in walks on the season. We had Cedric Mullins and Adley Rutschman both go over 35 doubles on the season, and Gunnar Henderson had 4 triples. Henderson led us in errors with 17, and Mountcastle had 13 behind him. And Rutschman leads the team, or at least the position players, in WAR with 6.1. Urias is 3.3, Mullins 3.2. Abraham Toro and McCann are the only other 2 above a 1. Everyone else is sub 1 or in the negative, so I'm thinking that we'll still bring back Santander. At negative 2.3 is terrible for his WAR, but I'm hoping it's just a down year. I'm looking for him to at least get back to, a 240 average or 250 average for next season. And then Austin Hayes, I'm thinking we're still probably going to bring him back for this next year, just because we have an arbitration year for him. If he isn't succeeding in the first half, we can always trade him and bring someone up. Henderson will still be our shortstop. Mateo, I'm thinking about keeping him around for our, utility outfielder and infielder and base runner. His average isn't really improving, but his stats are still getting better. He's not declining yet. I think he can have at least, one more solid good year in a bench for us, and then go on to big and better things with another team. Westberg, I'm not sure if he's going to start next year at the Major League club. Just that 122 average, I think he needs another year at AAA. And then for our pitchers, our starting rotation wasn't very strong today. We did trade for Eric Lauer. He went 15-8. I believe whenever we got him, he was like 11-4. So he didn't play great for us to end the season. But I'm thinking if he can keep his momentum going for another couple years, he'd be a strong starter for us. He had a 1.4 whip, a 2.6 WAR, which is a career high for him. So hopefully next year can be even higher. Behind him, Cole Irvin and Dean Kramer played a lot better than I thought they would. John Means didn't really play up to what I thought he should be. And then going down, Grayson Rodriguez had a horrible year for us. Looking for him to bounce back next season. He finished at 3-9, got hurt for a good portion of the year, started 18 games, 6 quality starts, a .6 WAR, so he's at least not in the negative, but still a not very good season for Grayson Rodriguez. Aaron Ashby, we also got in that trade with Lauer. All of his attributes are going up. He pitched a lot better this year, 3.39 ERA and 85 innings, and a .9 WAR, which is on par with what he got last year. But at 24 years old, I think he's going to be a big part of our bullpen for years to come, and he signed for another 4 years after this one at $4.1 million a season. So I feel like he's going to be a big addition to our bullpen next year. And we had Tyler Wells, who was one of our most consistent pitchers out of the pen. Pitched a whole lot of innings, 143 for us in 54 games. Had a 3.02 ERA and a 1.11 whip, so very good pitcher. Only a .4 WAR, which is surprising. But at 28 years old, 69 overall, I'm hoping that next year he can have a year even better or just as good as this one. And we did just re-sign him to a 3-year contract. Felix Bautista led us in saves with 40 on the season and 57 innings pitched, and he will be our closer for as long as we can have him. He is signed for 4 more years, not taking too much out of the cap for us. Eric Lauer also led us in strikeouts, Dean Kramer with 123. Ken Giles led us in ERA with 1.31, and he's actually signed for 1 more year, so I'm thinking we're going to keep him on the team. His overall did go up. He's improving. But yeah, we'll give him 1 more year, see what he can do for us next year. Bautista had a 1.88 ERA, Aiken with a 1.98, and outside of our bullpen, it was bad for our starters. Cole Irvin and Dean Kramer actually had the most quality starts on the team, so I think they've earned themselves an opportunity to come back next year. John Means, you guys let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I'm not 100% sold on giving up on him or keeping him. He is 29 years old. His statistics went down a little bit. He had a 4.61 ERA compared to a 3.38 and 6.2 that he had last season. Oh, well, last season he only pitched 3 innings, so maybe we can go for this one. So he had a 4.61 ERA compared to a 3.62 in 2001, or 2021, sorry. And then a 3.6 as well in 19, doing the same thing with the starting. So I think he just had a down year, but I'm thinking we might move on from him. Eric Lauer had 3 complete games. He had 3 shutouts. Cole Irvin leads the team in WAR with 2.8, and Eric Lauer has a 2.7. And we didn't have any pitchers in negative WAR, so I guess that's a good sign. I'm still surprised that Grayson Rodriguez is positive. But John Means also had the lowest strikeout per 9 rating of all of our pitchers. And it looks like he gave up home runs at the 2nd highest rate on the team, so I'm leaning towards letting him go, but you guys let me know what y'all think. And in case you guys are wondering about our AA playoff run that we had, looks like Colin Burns, Hudson Haskin, T.T. Bowens, Maverick Handley, Paul Hauer had good averages. Everyone else kind of struggled, which is unfortunate, seeing as how some of those are the guys that I would like to maybe move up to AAA next year. And then our pitchers, some of them did okay. Nick Richmond had that horrible game. But outside of him, we had Logan Gillespie do pretty well. Morgan McSweeney, Easton Lucas in his limited slot. Drew Rahm pitched well. Trey McGuff, Garrett Stallings. So everyone except Brandon Young, Zach Lowther. So everyone except these last 4 pitched fairly well. Okay. Looks like it's going to be Houston against the Angels and the Yankees against the Guardians. And NL, the Padres against the Dodgers and St. Louis against the Phillies. Man, it sucks that Atlanta just got swept. And the championship series are going to be Houston against the Yankees and the Dodgers against the Phillies. And the Phillies have made it for the National League side, and the Yankees have made it for the American League side. It's going to be Yankees against Phillies. And the Phillies take a 1-game lead, 2-game lead. Yankees pull back 1. Phillies have a 3-1 lead on the Yankees, and the Phillies have defeated the Yankees in the World Series of all games. Are you kidding me? The Phillies went 104-58 on the season, won the final game 9-6. Justin Crawford, okay, I was going to say, I saw that 1,000 average, but he only got 1 hit. Looks like Alec Boehm got their only home run in this game, but everybody hit. They had 14 hits. Pitching, Aaron Nola went 5 innings. Connor Brogdon, Andrew Bellotti, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jose Alvarado. All right, so Phillies come through and win the NL East and win the World Series. And that takes us into the offseason. So next episode, I don't want to advance to that just yet, but next episode will be the offseason. You guys let me know how y'all enjoyed this episode. Like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I'm not exactly sure when the offseason is going to come about, but leave your suggestions in the comments of who you think should stay, who you think should start out at the Major League club. Jackson Holiday didn't play very well in AAA, so I'm thinking about keeping him in AAA at least for another season, but he will make the spring training roster most likely. But if there's anyone else do you think deserves a spot, like maybe Toby Welk or Colton Cowser, leave it down in the comments. But that will end it here. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time.